to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, the New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm Rob. Let's get the show on the road with some rumors.
I've told you before, we're not a mobile show. I can't do that.
Can we be like a taco truck or something? Just
Well,
talking about Giants news.
Truck. Ooh. With some of that, like, grime cilantro sauce. You know, like they have at the Costco street tacos. Those things are good.
But you also have the one without cilantro, because either you love or hate cilantro. There's really like no in the middle.
That's like saying right or wrong. Sorry. Cilantro is amazing.
Listen, I'm pro cilantro. I'm that guy, but there's some people that just loathe cilantro.
I know. There's something about there's a genetic thing actually that makes it taste like dish soap to some people, apparently.
I was about to say, it does.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand it personally because it doesn't taste like dish soap to me at all. But whatever, tastes like delicioso.
And those people, when's the last time you had dish soap in your mouth?
We've all tasted dish soap. We've all taken a drink out of a cup that had too much soap in it or something. At least those of us that were raised without a dishwasher.
Yeah, I was about to say.
You know, I didn't grow up
drying rack.
I didn't grow up with a rich part of Hazlitt like you, Rob. I grew up in West Keensburg. God damn it.
Hey, I wash my dishes too. I put them on the dry rack.
For those who know the fighting of the Hazlitt geography there, it's probably like two listeners maybe that don't know what we're talking about. So let's get the stuff they will know about. We're talking Giants here, God damn it, not Hazlitt, New Jersey. But the Giants started releasing their top 100. We talked about this with the 100th season here coming. They're going to be doing a top 100 players ever to wear the Giants uniform. They released the initial top 10 here. So this is 100 through 91. So the first 10 here, which is kind of like, I feel like if you're on this list, are you like proud to be on this list? Or you're like, I'm barely made it. Like,
but at the same token, there's plenty of people that are not on this list.
You know, you start off with a guy who was a dependable part of the last two championship teams we had there with Eli Manning and Rich Seubert, who is, of course, now a high school football coach in Jersey as well. Just won an award for that this past season. But, you know, it's just a dependable offensive lineman there. And I got to say, I'm just fair warning people. I'm going to have some complaints in this list probably as we go. Just fair warning.
Yeah, same here. Because like there's,
I'm seeing names on the list today that I'm like, top 100. Now, hear me out for a second when I say this. We have 32 players in the Hall of Fame. 32. Okay. We have on top of that, we have players like we've talked about them ad nauseum, but you know, the Phil Simms, the Carl Banks, the Jimmy Pattons of the world, you know, the guys like that aren't in the Hall of Fame. You know, go old school, go Frank Cope, which we'll talk about him later. You know, there's a lot of guys that were not in the Hall of Fame that were all-time greats for their generation. So you're going to have like 50 to 60 people that are like all-time greats, basically like that. And the rest of the 40 are going to be guys that are Giants legends, basically, but not NFL legends. I'm not sure if some of the guys in this list make that. And I kind of feel bad. I'm saying right that we talked about Rich here, but he was a really good player, but I'm sorry. I don't think he's top 100. No disrespect to the man. Like he gave it all. I'm not a hater by any means, but top 100 seems a little steep. And then you got Brad Benson, 10 years with the Giants, won Pro Bowl. Again, I feel like part of the problem you run into is these are great Giants. But are they all-time great Giants? Like, Brad Benson is known more for selling Hyundais.
You're not wrong.
I mean, again, I think part of what you're going to see in this list is you're going to see guys who were part of Super Bowl teams, and that kind of lifts them up higher. You're going to see people that are, more recent, and that's going to put them up higher. We talked about it before, like the 1930s, we had like 5 people on the all 1930s team that played offensive line on just the Giants.
Yeah, it's
of their generation. I guarantee you that not all of those guys will make this list.
No, because like you said, I mean, you're talking 90 years ago. It's hard to.
And don't call top 100 of the 100 years. You're not going to go far back like that. I'm just saying.
But it's easy to overlook it, is what I'm saying. Like, they don't have the same reporting stats as they did back then. The gameplay is different. So, like, you go into that. Like, when you talk about the best of baseball, it's the same thing. Like, people talking like comparing Babe to McGuire and comparing, different legends. It's a different game.
McGuire took steroids. Babe Ruth took hot dogs and beer
and vodka.
Which took a lot of things.
Liquor.
Probably took legal substances too, just not performing enhancing. But it wouldn't shock me. Anyway, next up after that, we got number 98, Eddie Price, who was a 3-time Pro Bowler and led the NFL in rushing back in 1951. Number 97, Hakeem Nicks, who's 4th, and this whole 4th thing to come in. There's a few things for 4ths coming up here, but the 4th most receiving yards in Giants history. And a guy that, let's be honest, it wasn't for injuries, had the chance to become the best wide receiver to ever play for the Giants.
He had the opportunity, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, injuries killed him. And that's what happens, unfortunately, with people. I'm not saying it's uncommon or it's this great Greek tragedy, but he was a guy who was on pace to be that kind of player for the Giants. Next up, 96, Willie Williams, defensive back, Pro Bowler in 1969, 4th most interceptions in Giants history. Then number 95, Saquon Barkley, of course, the 2018 Offensive Rookie of the Year, 2-time Pro Bowler, 4th most rushing yards in Giants history. We got a lot of 4s back to back to back. The 4th most receiving yards, the 4th most interceptions, and the 4th most rushing yards. That's a nice little trio there. Number 94, Erik Howard, interior defensive lineman during the LT Super Bowls there, as I call them. I always call them the LT ones. That's some people call them like the Parcells ones. No, that was LT. It's like you can go back and forth. Like, was it LT? Was it Parcells? Was it Phil Jackson? Was it MJ? Like it's that kind of thing. Like legit. But 122 games with the Giants overall and 1 Pro Bowl. And then 93, Terry Kinard, safety from the 80s, 105 games played, 1 Super Bowl win there, and a Pro Bowl. Number 92, Darrell Dess, offensive lineman from the 60s. Had 2 Pro Bowl seasons. And number 91, the guy who started off our infatuation with people kicking the ball from Scotland, Lawrence Tynes, known, of course, for kicking the Giants into literally 2 Super Bowls by winning game-winning field goals there to end 2 different NFC championship games there. So that's number 100 through 91. Again, I'm going to seem like a hater when I talk about these guys, I feel like, to a certain degree. But I'm sorry. Like, 1 Pro Bowl, I'm in. Top 100? 1? I know it's not the end all. I'm not saying it's the only metric you use, but it's kind of like some of these guys are just in because of longevity, I feel like. And that's where it's going to be determined. Like, how do you determine a top 100? Are you going based on longevity? Are you going based on talent? Are you trying to combine both at that point there? And if that's
I would imagine it'd be both.
How do you level the difference between somebody who had a great short career, like an OBJ, for example, or a guy that just played for the Giants forever, like a Howard Cross? Like, that's difficult to do. It really is. But yeah, I mean, overall, again, a couple issues I'll give there, but it's hard to say fully until I hear the full list. All great Giants. It's just a matter of if we think they actually belong as part of that top 100 there. And that's usually the discussion you have with the last guys to make the list. It's like, oh, what about so-and-so? And since we don't have the list, we don't know who so-and-so could be. We'll have to find out who got left off. But I will say this. Maybe when this list is done, you and I, Rob, will do our own top 100.
Ooh. Maybe we should.
Maybe we should. So we'll see. I actually have a mathematical way of doing this.
Ooh.
I was thinking about too. So we'll see. Giving people a point system like that. Like 1 point for a Pro Bowl, 2 points for a second team All Pro, 3 points for a first team All Pro, 3 points, 5 points for an MVP or something like that. We'll have to figure out a point value system.
Yeah, I was going to say half a point per year.
Yes. I think that would be very good.
Half a point per year and every extra point for every 5th year.
Yeah, as I'm saying, I think something like that. We can figure out a system like that. We'll talk about that off show there and figure that out. Maybe we'll do that way there.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the one guy here in this list that people were kind of already like, whoa, really? How do you make this list? And it kind of ruffles some feathers, especially with what's going on with Hard Knocks and all right now and everything. And that's Saquon Barkley. And the question became, why is he there? And I got to say, I'm kind of shocked. Like, why are we asking, why is he there? Offensive Rookie of the Year, 2-time Pro Bowler, 4th most rushing yards in Giants history. And he was only on the team for 6 seasons. Wasn't like he was a 10, 11, 12-year kind of guy. This wasn't a stack compiler. No disrespect to him, but like a Monty Toomer kind of guy. This is a guy who was a top flight running back for a while. Listen, I'm not wrong.
No, you're 100% right.
Are you talking about John?
I was
talking about John here. That'll be a long top 100, especially with Chatty Cathy Drew. How did he know my mother's name, actually? That's the funny thing. He actually got my mother's name, the correct spelling and everything. But like I said, I think it's kind of crazy that people are shocked that he's on the list. I mean,
I'm not shocked he's on.
Yeah,
I'm not shocked he's on the list. Actually, I would assume he would have been a little higher.
I thought so too. I thought that being in the 90s was kind of the slap in the face for how things ended. I really did think that. I mean, he's right next there to a guy that literally didn't have a single Pro Bowl, didn't have a single second team All Pro, first team All Pro, didn't have a single season that you're like, he's the best player on the team. Like, that's crazy. He should definitely be higher on the list. Now, here's part of the equation. If you and I do our own top 100, we'll have to consider this part as well. Is he getting penalized because of how bad the Giants were in his time frame?
See that? Yeah, we're gonna have to come up with a point system with that too, because what
I'm saying? That's part of the equation. Like, yeah, great, you did some good things on the field when it didn't count.
I mean, you're not wrong in that statement. Like,
I'm not trying to be a jerk. Like, listen, we talked about you and I don't hate Barkley. Like, we'll see if this changes his Hard Knocks continues, but we don't hate him. It looks like though he was a little shocked by it, and he put on on Twitter afterwards, shared the image the Giants had of it, and said, "All love, TBH," which is to be honest for those who are not hip like me. I think
had to Google that.
I think this is really dope. Appreciate it.
It's pretty cool, Drew. I know with that old brand of yours, dope is pretty cool.
I want a drug test on Barkley right now for using dope. Now that he's an Eagle, they should drug test him every day.
Well, I mean, have you driven through Philly recently?
And let's see. Deb said she heard that Barkley was surprised by when they let him know and he was touched by it. Yeah. And you know what? I think he probably was a little touched by it, to be honest. But I would have called him up and told him that. It's like, imagine how high you could have on the list if you just stayed, you jerk.
That could have been how they told him, too. Oh, by the way, you're only in the 90s. If you would have retired with this, yeah, could have been possibly in the 20s.
You could have been in the 60s at that point,
Yeah. With another season.
And then Relic says, "What's up, guys? What's up?
What's up, my man?"
John says, "Looks to me like Saquon is full of poop. John, what are you typing here? He Faust out says to test market. Let us know to see if we can match it." Those are important words. If you misspelled, John,
maybe he said flat out.
Says I don't know. Either way.
I mean, I've been watching our recaps of the Hard Knocks because Shane was pretty open about saying, "Hey,
there you go." He says they even told his agent, "Got to think about Ring of Honor, etc." Yeah, I mean, this is part of that equation. This is definitely part of that equation. Like I said, he could have been a lot higher up there if he had just stayed with us there at that point. He says, "You got it." Roberto got it. See Sam Goody? Sam Goody's got it. Goody's
Sam
got
Goody.
it. Remember that back in the day? I don't know why that commercial popped in my head when I saw that. I'm showing my age now.
You
like
are.
anybody under the age of 30 is like, who's Sam Goody? Yeah.
Who's Sam
We're
Goody?
old.
No.
You know damn well
I know.
Sam Goody is. Don't even try.
I'm young and hip.
It was the FYE before FYE, which is also old now too, probably.
That's it. Dap's no longer cool. Chip, yeah, hip.
But yeah, again, any fans that are freaking out over Barkley being on the list, don't freak out. Move on. I get it. Everything's kind of refreshed now because of the Hard Knocks thing. He did a lot of, again, the team didn't do a lot of good things, but he himself did a lot of good things as a Giant. Respected, give him his kudos there, and we move on. That's what we do.
Yeah.
John says, me and Roberto share a brain, but it's huge.
Huge.
I hope not. If you guys are Siamese twins or sharing the brain, that would explain John's typing, though. Since you're on the show, you must be using the brain right now. Let's get into the next topic there, because definitely should get the Giants fans' anger right now in Philly, and it's not Saquon Barkley. We got to take the comment down. See, John, it's a certain Philly DJ here, Howard Esin, who is on Twitter bashing Joe Schoen. Now, what he said exactly was a little bit overkill, I thought. This is what he put on there, his exact tweet here. This conversation between Saquon Barkley and #NY Giants GM Joe Schoen, I assume Saquon thought was private. Fact that Giants allowed Hard Knocks put it out there publicly is a disgrace. What an asinine conversation by Schoen as well. Why would Barkley want to play for that idiot? Yeah, let's break that down for a second. You don't think for a second that Barkley knew that call was being recorded? You legally have to tell people that you're being recording them unless you're in a public space. Like, he was not a public space. Like, I'm not a lawyer. Don't get me wrong. Like, I am not. I don't want to pretend to be one here. But I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, and that's what I heard, is that if you're not in a public place, then people have the right to say you can't record, and you have the right to know you're being recorded. I don't think that's considered a public space when you're on the phone with your boss, for that to be nationally televised later on. So I gotta think that, and Hard Knocks is not going to put that conversation out there. Hey, Barkley, I'm going to call you in a second. The camera should be on. Just heads up at that point. I just want to keep you up to date. So we just need to sign this release form as well for this conversation, because damn well they got a release form. They're not going to put him on a TV show nationally syndicated. Just hope he didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not like he had to sign the form saying, hey, during this time period that the Giants will be recording every conversation, everything that's going on. Is that okay?
Yeah, like it's especially on a private cell phone call. Like, don't tell me Saquon didn't know. Stop. That's just ridiculous. For those who may not be aware who Howie is, we're going to call him Howie. He's a sideline reporter for the Giants, for the Eagles radio broadcast, and also does a game day live pregame show on Fox's Philadelphia affiliate as well. Now, what's interesting is he seems to take issue with the way Joe Schoen treated Barkley. Maybe he needs to look in the mirror at how he treats people, and those in glass houses shouldn't be throwing glass stones right now, because very recently Esin was suspended from all Philadelphia Phillies home games for the rest of the season after allegedly kissing a Citizens Bank Parks food service provider without consent. So, not a very smart move when that's happened recently, because listen, Howie, I didn't know who the hell you even were. Now, when I hear your name, I will not think of this Saquon Barkley, Joe Schoen thing. That's what I'll think about.
Is you being a perv?
Because that is a sketch allegation there. Again, allegation, nothing's been. But, that's a little sketchy sounding there.
Yeah.
I mean, if they banish you from the ballpark for the year, That's not usually because somebody said something and there's no proof or anything like that. That's not usually that's not a course of action places take the first time somebody says something typically either. Again, I have no information. I have no proof. I'm keeping this very legally free for us. I'm just saying, I don't feel like somebody said, hey, this guy kissed me and I didn't want him to. Okay, we're just going to ban him from the park for the rest of the year.
Listen,
like,
I get excited.
Yeah.
I get excited when I'm at the ball game and the person comes around and she hands me a pretzel and a beer, but I've never gone up and tried to kiss him.
He kissed me when I gave him a churro one time.
See, that's when you put the churro in his mouth.
But I'm just saying, I feel like that's not a thing you do. And I'm not saying he's been accused of that before, but I feel like that's not something you do for somebody you like and respect and believe wouldn't do something like that. That's the go. That guy's a jerk. He probably did do that.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Like, yeah. That's just don't talk when you have that kind of stuff recently. That's just stupid. Don't be in the news. What's even crazier is this is a quote he gave last year on Twitter. This was last July on Twitter, right as camp was about to start. And he said, unfortunately for #Eagles fans, #NY Giants have done right thing not signing Saquon to a long-term contract, trying to move on from mistake they made drafting him number 2. RBs need to realize it's a mistake for teams to re-sign that player after a rookie deal. They always get hurt. I'm sure we all feel bad he will only make $10 million. So you just admitted that signing a guy out of his rookie deal is stupid and that they never works out and they get hurt. I'm just glad you're seeing
bash the GM that said the same thing.
Yeah. Like literally, that's what he just did. Well, it's like, well, he's an Eagle now. I have to defend him.
Pretty much.
And honestly, Joe Schoen, let me be honest, Joe Schoen, I don't think liked Barkley very much. I think there was a lot of resentment between what happened with them last year trying to get this contract done. But he never said really anything negative about him specifically. He kind of took shots about his age and the carries and blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't like he was like, yeah, I don't want to keep Saquon. He's kind of a jerk.
No, I don't even think
the one really... subtle shot with we wanted to give him money last year, Yeah,
that was the only shot that I really was like, all right, that was a jab. But what you're talking about, he was talking statistics. It's sometimes when you talk statistics, it's math. Sometimes math is not flattering. I hop on the scale. The scale works the same if I lose weight or gain weight. And I look at it and I'm heavier than I was yesterday. It's not bashing me. It's just saying the truth.
I'm bashing you portly guy.
Fatty.
But yeah, I guess it's just the whole thing's crazy. So yeah, Howard, Esin, pipe down. Stick to your team. You'll have plenty of things to talk about this year, potentially that are bad in the Eagles, especially after how you guys finished last year. So maybe you should focus on that. So all right. Let's get back to our Giants top here because I want to get done with the Saquon stuff because there was a little bit of news there for him. And I just don't want to keep talking about Saquon at this point. It's getting to that point where it's like, okay, we need to move on, guys.
Yeah.
We're like that ex-girlfriend that still texts every so often to see what they're doing.
I can't believe you did this 3 years ago, but come on, really?
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into the next batch of Giants there, and this is number 90 through 81. That got released actually very late in the day here today. As I was making the notes for the show, actually, I saw it come out. So number 90 through 81 here. And we got some old timers this one. We are taking it back to some old timers. Look at the leather helmets there in that picture. That's nice. That's old school Giants. That's a 100th anniversary team right there. If I've never seen one, So first up, number 90, Aaron Thomas. Now, for those of you guys who were listening to us last year, some of these old timers, by the way, may ring a bell because we did talk about the greatest Giants ever to play a lot of the positions. We still got to finish that segment up there, hopefully this offseason. But Aaron Thomas was definitely one of the greatest tight ends to ever play for the New York Giants. Played in the 60s, still hosts the franchise record for most TDs by a tight end as well. So, listen, anytime you hold a passing statistic record with the Giants and you haven't played since the 60s, that's impressive because most passing records get destroyed with modern football. So it's been now 60 years, and it's still active record. That's impressive. Number 89, Jason Sehorn. Just an elite level cover corner there in the 90s, who unfortunately career was cut way too short by doing a punt return in the preseason. Played possibly Jim Fossil's biggest mistake as a Giants coach. Yeah, definitely. So, 88, we talked about him briefly before. Howard Cross was just an amazing blocking tight end with basically having a third tackle out there. But basically, they also never caught the ball. So that was very one-dimensional in that regard. Played all throughout the 90s, even the beginning of the zeros there. I think it was like the last remaining Giant from the 90 Super Bowl season that was also on the Ravens Giants Super Bowl that we lost. Like, that's how far his career extended with the Giants. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Which is impressive.
Yeah. Played the third most games as a Giant in franchise history. And yeah, I think when he retired, I think he was number 1, actually. I know Eli is number 1, I believe. And I want to say Strahan was number 2.
That sounds about right.
I'd have to look it up. Number 87, Corey Webster, who was definitely a key cornerback from those last 2 Super Bowl runs during the Eli years there. 86, Eric Barnes, defensive back there, who played literally just 4 seasons with the New York Giants there. But those 4 seasons were very impressive. And that's what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to figure some of these guys out. Like, here's a guy who played with the Giants there, but played a long time ago with the Giants and had a short career. He literally was with the Giants from 61 to 64. Like, our parents were too young to watch him play. That's the age we're talking now. In those 4 years, though, 1-time first team All-Pro, 2-time second team All-Pro. That's pretty damn impressive. There. Number 85, running back / kick returner Dave Meggett, who is arguably potentially the best kick returner in the history of the New York Giants. That's basically what he was. He was that kind of like shifty returner that just happened to go as a running back every so often and do something. He was much more as a returner than anything else. Number 84, this one I'm kind of shocked you put Dave Meggett so close to this guy, because you can compare these 2 guys pretty easily, and this guy definitely beats him out by far, in my opinion. Ahmad Bradshaw was just a solid running back there for his years with the Giants there. But it's like, how do you give it 85 for Meggett, 84 for Bradshaw? Like, are you telling me Dave Meggett's even close to the player Ahmad Bradshaw was?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Like, I feel like that's a little crazy. Number 83 was probably the most underappreciated quarterback in Giants history, in my opinion, Kerry Collins, who almost got a ring. I know it kind of sounds sad to say he's underappreciated. He almost got a ring. Participation trophy. But it's like, people don't realize it weren't necessarily around for it. And I was a young lad myself, as was Rob, when this kind of stuff was going down there. We're just kind of like at that age where we're high school, middle school kind of age, watching the end of the Dave Brown years, Danny Cannell years, and all those kind of things. And it's like, all of a sudden, you get this guy who basically got booted out of Carolina for being an issue. There's rumors of drinking issues and that kind of stuff when he got signed by the Giants. And he gets his poop together, to put it nicely, and becomes a solid quarterback for many years for us there, and really helped turn that franchise around from a team that was a great in the 80s and early 90s to nosediving in the mid to late 90s to all of a sudden, late 90s, he's turning around and we're whooping the Vikings' butt in the NFC Championship game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was a very fun game to watch. Number 82, Kareem McKenzie, who was just a stud right tackle for us. He was that guy that's like, he's probably in the Hall of Very Good. like he was just a solid, above average player that you can count every single game to be out there. And trust me, there's plenty of teams that wish they had today a guy like Kareem McKenzie on their roster. Number 81, Frank Cope, was left tackle. Was also a member of the NFL's all 1930s team we talked about earlier. There's a lot of Giants on that team there, but he is one of the guys that was not in the Hall of Fame. Somehow he was considered one of the best of his decade, but not Hall of Fame worthy.
Hmm.
Much like Carl Banks. I'm not sure how that works still when I see that stuff. That just annoys me.
Because you put NY in your chest.
Yeah, more Giants that should be in the Hall of Fame. So we'll have to add them to our list. One day we'll have to actually do that show. We keep talking about every year we do these kind of things, talking about doing a show of like Giants that aren't in the Hall but should be.
Yeah, that's definitely
number one's definitely Tom Coughlin.
100%.
I'm sorry, but Tom Coughlin should be the Hall of Fame. Absolutely ridiculous, not. All right, guys. We'll give you more of those as they come out, though. Obviously we got 8 more of those segments to go. And I think it's going to be a little more interesting as it starts going down towards the bottom 10, the bottom 20, because you're going to start splitting hairs. You really do once you start getting to that far down the list there. So let's talk about a guy that we hope will be on this list one day. Maybe he'll be on the 200-year anniversary list there. And this is a guy that has been labeled as a guy that's ready to break out in 2024. And that's Cordell Flott. So CBS Sports creates every year a list of NFL all breakout team guys they hope will break out in that season. And Flott made the list. What they said is Flott would have been a member of my better than team coming into the draft. I written one. So there is some bias at play here. The reality is that a slot cornerback was needed for this team, and the honorable mention cornerbacks and safety profile more in other roles. Flott is worth a flyer as he takes on an expanded role. And I'm glad to see him on the list, but I got to say, that's not the best write-up I've seen in the world.
Yeah.
It's like, I liked him coming out of college, so I just put him here. And he's going to be an outside corner for the Giants, but I need a slot corner, so I just put him there.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, I'm sorry, that's a little lazy on your writing there, CBS Sports. Perhaps you should be hiring a couple goofballs over here to help you guys get your shit in gear. Just saying, like, that's sloppy writing. But I mean, Cordell Flott is one of those guys that he has a chance. I don't want to say he's going to break out this year. I don't want to say things like that. I feel like that's putting undue pressure on him. If someone's going to break out this year, it's going to be Banks. As far as corners, it's going to be Banks. That's the guy that's going to turn into an okay rookie year to hopefully a stud corner in this league, because that'll be key to helping us really on this roster overall. But Flott has the chance to prove he can just be a starting corner in this league. That's not necessarily a breakout to me. A breakout is like you're a star that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That's me. Banks is much more the guy that should have been in that category of the Giants. So, we'll see what happens. I mean, we all know my theory. I like Nick McLeod over Cordell Flott myself, but obviously I'm rooting for Flott. He's a Giant. He's going to be a starter potentially, probably. So
most likely.
If you're going to be on the team and you're going to wear that blue and red, then I'm going to go ahead and root for you. That's all there is to it. That's simple. Cut and dry.
Easy peasy.
Let's talk about a guy who made a list that I think should have been a little higher. And that's sexy Dexy Dexter Lawrence himself, who was named the 3rd best defensive tackle in the NFL. And I just think that's a little low. I really do. I mean, no, I'll give you number 1, number 2 first on this. So number 1 is Chris Jones of the Chiefs. He's the guy who's on most number 1s. I do think, and I will argue till the day I die, not that anybody probably still going to be having this conversation when that day comes, but that Dexter Lawrence and Chris Jones play 2 different positions, because Chris Jones moves all along that defensive line. He's trying to find weaknesses, like a raptor looking at the fence, like he's trying to find that where he can get through. Whereas Dexter Lawrence is a strictly nose tackle. That's what he is. He's right in the middle. He doesn't move off the middle. They don't put him on the edge to rush like that, like they do with Jones. That's what he does. He plays the real tackle position. Number 2 is Quinn Williams at the Jets. Which, honestly, if I was judging these 3, I would probably still put Jones first, because I just think he is that good. Again, I think he plays a different position than Dexter Lawrence. I'm not changing that part here, but I just think he's got a little more outcome out of him than Dexter Lawrence has gotten. And I put Dexter Lawrence twice, and I put Quentin Williams 3rd. I think I need to see Quentin Williams be dominant one more year. And maybe that's a little bit of homerism because I watch Dexter Lawrence on such a regular basis. But what he does from that nose tackle position is just unheard of. You know, a lot of the guys that are the greats of the defensive tackles, like, you know, the Aaron Donalds of the world and all, they did the same thing Chris Jones was doing. They're moving him towards the outside, making him run like edge rushers at that point. Dexter Lawrence is truly coming up the middle, and he's doing it on a regular basis, you know? So he was 6th last year, so at least he's gone up. He's gone up to 3 now this year. This is what the article said about him. It said, that's 2 elite tackles in the greater North Jersey area, with Lawrence racking up 12 sacks, 49 QB hits over the last 2 seasons while dominating the run game. Lawrence, who earned a 4-year, $87.5 million extension last offseason, ranks 2nd amongst defensive tackles with an 18.6 pass rush win rate. I always have trouble saying that when I see it. I'm going to read it wrong. Yeah, I mean, so you got a guy who great against the run. They're saying that point blank was, you know, 2nd in pass rush win rate. And he doesn't move on the outside to get the advantage. He's going right up the freaking gut.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but there's a difference in what he does than most people that you're going to call a defensive tackle. You know, there's more defensive linemen. They call them defensive tackle, but they're more defensive linemen overall. Dexter Lawrence is a true nose tackle. I'll give you Chris Jones. I'm not going to give you Quinn Williams. Now, the people who voted on this, by the way, I should mention, ESPN went around to executives, coaches, and scouts and just asked them to rank their top 10 defensive tackles. That's where they got it. One guy actually had Dexter Lawrence number 8. Number 8. Like, that's a little crazy. Like, you tell me 7 defensive tackles better than Dexter Lawrence. That's hard to do.
I was about to say that's.
Like, I don't understand how you could possibly get, you know, that kind of, you know, answer out of that. Like, who would you even go with at that point there? I don't know. Like, I really don't. I mean, Aaron Donald is gone. You got Chris Jones. You got Quinn Williams. I mean, Hargrave, is he considered that good? Simmons? You know, Christian Wilkins? You know, we know he's not as good. Hayward, he's not as good. I mean, I just don't know where you're going with that. I mean, Jonathan Allen, we see him twice a year with the Commanders. He doesn't make nearly, I think, the same effect that Dexter Lawrence does in those games. You know, I don't know. I think there's some giant hate there going on.
Always is.
They had a quote here. They got a couple quotes here from some anonymous guys who did go ahead and give their thoughts on him. One anonymous coordinator said, elite feet to go with size and athleticism. It's like he's violently dancing out there. He will miss a few plays here and there near sacks, but he mostly delivers. That's the one thing you can say on him, I feel like. And I don't want to say he mostly delivers, but there's a few plays that he just doesn't get the sack. But I feel like that's him flushing the quarterback out. He's going up the middle. That's the difference. He's going up the middle. They would be sacks if he was coming off the edge, you know? I just feel like it's a little crazy. I really do. But, you know, what do I know? A scout also from the AFC said he's just an awesome football player. A unique combo of power, balance, and lower body flexibility. And you combine that with his football acumen, and you have a premier player. Now, that scout I agree with.
Yeah.
That scout I agree with. I don't know what's going on.
Looks like he knows how to do his job.
That's a little crazy. That is a little crazy. Not many people I agree with in the show always. But that guy knows what he's talking about. Yeah. It was me. No kidding. No,
my name's anonymous.
That's Anon for short. Let's get to another guy who got ranked here this week here, and that's our first-year stud linebacker, Bobby Okereke, who I thought really, we talked about this before with him. I thought the contract was a reach. I thought we gave him too much money, but he earned it this year. I still think compared to what other guys got on the market, we gave him a ton of money. But he's worth every dime we're paying him right now, the way he's playing. Absolutely 100% worth every dime.
He's making it rain.
Whoop, whoop. We're doing that. I still have the dollar bills here.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. Fan myself real quick here. It's not a good time to do the buy me a coffee thing. But this is what CBS Sports said about him. So they said Okereke played 100% of defensive snaps in his first season with the Giants and had a career year with 149 combined tackles, 2.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 10 passes defensed, 11 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions. His performance in the Week 6 loss to Buffalo was epic as he recorded 11 combined tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 passes deflected, and a forced fumble. He also tipped up an interception for teammate Micah McFadden. Giant fans are rightfully very excited for Okereke's future. Yes, I think that's safe to say. Safe to say we are very excited because we also haven't had a good linebacker in forever. And now we finally got a good linebacker. Like, that's been like something that we've been wanting forever. And I'm wondering, like, is this something now that like Shane's going to fix some of these holes that we've had forever? Like, we're going to go ahead and we got a linebacker now. Do we now have a stud wide receiver? Do we now have the offensive line fixed?
Think so.
We're just missing a quarterback. Sorry, DJ. Like, that's the thing we're still missing. But those don't exactly grow on trees. So, I think Shane deserves credit for picking up Okereke and getting a guy in here that, like I said, seemed like an overpay. I wasn't the only one who thought that when we signed the contract. But it's turned out to be, one of the top 5 Giants in the roster.
That's safe to say.
Yeah. I was trying to think in my head right now. Probably top 5. So, but he's a top 10 linebacker in the league. And listen, there's, you got 32 teams. You got a guy in the top 10, you're doing good. You're doing good. And a lot of people were upset that he wasn't in the Pro Bowl last year. I was definitely, because I would have seen him there. But as somebody who went, it was kind of like I wanted as many Giants as possible. I just had Dexter Lawrence to compare how massive he was compared to everybody else, which he was. But yeah, I mean, this is a guy that you could see going next year very easily. He doesn't have a year like that. It's a popularity contest to a certain degree, the Pro Bowl. I know some people don't want to say it, but it is. Yeah, it's okay. We can say it. We can admit it. So, now he's got a little clout. Maybe you can go ahead and make that pool and get that next year. All righty. So next up, guys, we got to talk about a rookie here. We got to talk about a rookie, and that's Tyrone Tracy Jr., who is obviously our running back that was a converted wide receiver that we got here in this draft. And this is a guy that coaches from Purdue were speaking up on his behalf there, kind of singing his praises there to Giants.com. He got some really nice words said. One of them said, he's a natural pass catcher. He understands how to attack somebody's leverage and how to use your eyes in a route tree. He's got a good feel for catching the ball and getting vertical. We definitely utilized him out of the backfield this past year. Should have done it more. That's interesting to see a coach saying, should have done it more. We didn't use him enough. That's not something you see them being. Like, my bad.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie daisy. Another one said he had a few runs in spring ball and a few runs in fall camp where he lowered his shoulder and invited and embraced and sought out contact. That's when I was like, man, in my opinion, we got an NFL guy. So it's interesting. You got one talking about his running, one talking about his passing at that point there. And this was coming out specifically, again, on Giants.com. So this is the Giants pushing this out, too, as well. And I'll always say, whatever the Giants push out, there's a narrative. It's all a marketing gimmick, that website. Let's be honest with what it is. So I feel like the Giants are making a lot of moves that are telling us expect the running backs to be a big, big part of the passing game. I really think that's what they're saying. I mean, you draft a kid who was a wide receiver and is converted to a running back. You got his coaches talking about how great of a pass catcher he is. You bring in the guy who coached Alvin Kamara when he did his style of running back play, which was very pass heavy. The writings of the wall, guys. Plus, you got a quarterback that you're openly, publicly admitting you don't know what you got in him yet.
Yeah, and let's go back to 2 years ago when we went to the playoffs. There was a lot of dink and dunk passes. It wasn't a lot down the field. So,
and we don't know what the offensive line situation is going to be like either. But when it boils down to it, is if you have a quarterback that gets a little flustered, gets a lot of pressure, that running back that catches the ball out of the flat is his best friend.
Yeah, he goes,
really is. So, I do think they have a plan. I really do think they have a plan for how they're going to use Tyrone Tracy, and I'm curious to see what it's going to be. And seriously, if we're right on this, but I think that's what he's going to be. Is he's going to be that pure pass catching tight end, like the Austin Eckler kind of guy? Like that's going to be who he is. So, kind of excited to see him. That's one of the guys I'm curious to see what they do with him in even in preseason. Like I want to see it. I want to see what he can do. I want to see I want to see him run the ball, especially because we talked about that coming into the draft and all. Like there was vision issues potentially with him. There's just things he doesn't have experience wise. He hasn't gained. I'm curious to see what this kid can do because he's going to have an opportunity. Besides Singletary, there really is nobody that's going to be the obvious number 2. He gets a chance to take that. Then we can all go. Who does number 2 work for?
Who does number 2 work for? John Esin Jr.
Let's talk about the guy who we beat the poop out of 2 years ago and wants to talk trash about our quarterback. Now, let me say this. We have talked trash about Daniel Jones in the show before.
That's our quarterback.
Me. Damn straight, that's our quarterback. That is our quarterback. You cannot talk trash about him.
Yeah.
We can. That's the rules. Okay? So we're immediately going BS on this. But Patrick Peterson is blasting Daniel Jones and gave tons of quotes on it. This is a guy that the media was talking about the Giants potentially picking up last week. I think it's safe to say they're not going to pick him up after those comments.
No.
This is a guy we've talked about very nice in the show because, again, our very first interview we had with the former NFLer was Britton Golden, who not only was a Giant, but also played with the Cardinals and had amazing things to say about Patrick Peterson. This seemed a little uncalled for. I don't get why this even came out, to be honest, but this is what he said. He said, I had an opportunity to play against Daniel Jones a couple times. Ain't nothing impressive about him to a defense. He's big and strong, but he hasn't shown us an arm talent like crazy arm talent. He's shown an inability to read defenses quickly, to get the ball out quickly. And I just think he has a problem dissecting the 11 guys on defense. His process is too slow to excel as a great NFL quarterback. He has talent. He has all the measurables. It's just not coming together on the football field. Guys, he's not wrong necessarily what he's saying. I'm going to say that point blank. It's not his place to say it.
No.
It is not his place to say it. And we talked about the 2 years ago thing. Remember 22 guys when we played the Vikings and Daniel Jones looked like a friggin' MVP caliber quarterback? Remember who their number 1 corner was that year? Oh, it's Patrick Peterson. That's who it was. It'd be a shame if somebody looked up the stats of what the Giants did against Patrick Peterson at both.
Oh, wait.
Oh, yes, we do have it here. You're right. Let's see here. The late December game when Jones went 30 of 42 for 334 yards. This is a guy who had trouble cracking 100 yards in some games.
Yeah.
334 yards. Richie James, 90 yards. Isaiah Hodgins, 89 yards. Darius Slay, 79 yards. How'd you do that game, Patrick? Patty?
Nah, so what? Wait, there's more.
Oh, wait. But act now. We'll throw in the wild card game as well.
Yeah.
When Daniel Jones went 24 of 35, 301 yards. Had Hodgins had 105 yards that game, and Slayton had 88. And I remember Hodgins just tore up Patrick Peterson in that game. Tore him up. Here's a guy who was literally coming off the streets, basically, off the practice squad of the Bills.
Couldn't just walk around Buffalo and And this jockstrap trying to get some work.
Like, couldn't get any work. And this is a team that was desperate to find receiving talent. Remember that? Like, they were signing Cole Beasley in that season and everything too. Like, this was a team that could not get receiving talent. And this guy couldn't get off the practice squad. And he comes in here and puts up triple-digit numbers against Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson, shut up. No one wants to hear it. We don't. And if anything, like I said, I wasn't a big fan of the idea of signing Patrick Peterson as it was. If I remember correctly, we said that, he's a guy that we could see maybe as a veteran leader if you really want to sign him to like a minimal contract, but it doesn't make sense to sign him to a big contract and block a young guy from starting. I don't want him anymore. Definitely. After that. You kidding me?
No. After that, no.
That's stupid. Stupado, okay?
Yeah.
You just lost your spot. You lost your spot as a potential home here. So hope you enjoy the unemployment.
You could have been here.
You could have been here. Instead, you're going to ARP.
You could have been a contender.
I mean, it's just, like I said, I just don't get why there was a need for that. I really don't know why there was a need for that. So he just stuck his mouth open to places it shouldn't have gone at that point, because I'm sure his agent heard of that and was like, dude, why would you say that? I wanted to talk to the Giants. Why would you do that?
They were going to pay us.
Yeah, like they might have been desperate if they got an injury for a corner. They would have taken us maybe.
Most likely.
That's just, like I said, that's just crazy. Crazy stupid. Guys, if you're ever taking a marketing class, this is what you don't do. If you're marketing yourself, don't talk trash about a potential employer.
Yeah, everyone's great. Oh, yeah. I would love to play in New York.
Oh, like Daniel Jones. You could easily said like nice things about Jones. Like, listen, I haven't watched the Giants specifically too much, so we didn't play them last year. But remember, 2 years ago we played them. DJ looked really good in those two games there. Obviously, he had a rough year last year, but it looked really good when we played us last time. That would have been the perfect quote.
Yeah,
and you could have. And it's not lying. And you're still mentioning the issues Daniel Jones has.
Yeah, listen, last year he's beat up, but when we played him the last 2 times, he didn't look so bad. Yeah.
Like I said, stupid. That's a bad move. Unless he doesn't want to play.
That could be.
All accounts he wants to play, but I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, as time marches on here. So, all righty, guys. That calls it a night here for us. So before we do that, we're going to pay the bills because Rob forgot to remind me.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs.
Hit the wrong button.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. Can't believe I hit the wrong button.
Let's do that when we leave.
I'm going to pay the bills one again. So we're back again for you guys Monday night. Now, I am actually heading out of town tomorrow. So Monday's going to be a fun one. We're trying to do a show with me on the road there. So hopefully we'll get that going. If not, you will have a full-on dose for Berto himself there. No one to interrupt him or talk over him.
I can actually speak my voice.
You can. You can sing if you want, even.
We can dance. We can dance if we want to. We can leave Drew behind.
I just said you can go ahead and sing if you want to, and you decided to sing about dancing. I hope you realize the irony of this.
It's fantastic.
But yeah, guys, we'll be back again Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, we shoot Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We are, of course, live always on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, Twitch, and, of course, Rob's favorite,
Drew's LinkedIn page.
Oh, yes, my LinkedIn profile. And, of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms. It's Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, all the big ones there. So if you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit the share, tell a friend, there. Appreciate you guys listening in as always. And as always, Giant fans.
Go Giants!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you.